This is the Analysing Anfield podcast on the Blood Red channel, bringing you the best tactical and statistical analysis of Liverpool FC.
Hello everybody and welcome to the latest episode of Analysing Anfield. I'm Josh Williams and I'm joined by a self-distancing version of David Hughes about 30 miles away. How are you getting on, mate?
As good as can be under the circumstances. I'm interested to see how we're going to do with this show today, but yeah, not bad. How are you, mate? Because you had a cold last week, didn't you? It wasn't the virus, was it?
No, I can reassure everyone that it was the cold. It was definitely not the corona, but hopefully I'll avoid that for the time being. No, we haven't just jinxed me there. But yeah, so this feels a bit weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But this is our means of getting content to people that want it. So obviously there's no football as well, so it's a little bit difficult. So this week we've went down the Q&A route. We put it out there for listeners to send in questions via Google Forms, and I can tell you now that the two most popular names, this is a stat show, two most popular first names that we got in, James and Paul. So for those who want to know that, there's a bit of info there for you. But yeah, we'll get straight into the questions and answers. A lot has changed in the space of a week. I think this time last week we were previewing the derby, weren't we?
Yeah, we were. Yeah. Although we did have an idea that it may not happen. Almost a disclaimer, then turned out to be true. But yeah, definitely a lot has changed in the last 7 days.
Yeah, 7 days later, that feels absolutely insane to go ahead with something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, do you want to go first, or because we'll talk a question each for those that aren't aware?
Yeah. The only thing is I haven't got names. I don't suppose you have them, do you? Who's
No.
No.
So
yeah. And yeah, I was going to say apologies for people who've obviously put a question in and we haven't been able to give you credit, but I mean you'll know it's yours. The first question I got was which left back should LFC be looking at as cover for Robinson this summer? Could they take advantage of the possible Norwich relegation and go for Jamal Lewis, or is there an academy alternative, such as Nico Williams, who obviously is a right back? I'd say in terms of academy prospects, we can't really forget Adam Lewis. I think he's had some troubles with injuries this season, because I know I watch a fair bit of the under-23s and I haven't seen him play a lot, but I've seen him in and around the sidelines. So I think he has struggled with injuries at times. But I know he played a fair bit last season. I think he played 29 times. He scored once, assisted 6, which isn't bad. But he's obviously a left back. He's versatile. He can go to left wing, sometimes even central midfield. Fantastic final ball delivery. In fact, he's an all-round good passer of the ball. A local lad as well, been at the club since he was 6. So you know he kind of knows what it feels like to play for Liverpool, and I think he's still one to keep an eye on. Potentially breaking into that Liverpool squad, maybe not the first team, but the squad at least next year. Back onto the Jamal Lewis point, he is an option, definitely. I actually remember you saying this, Josh, that you were a little bit disappointed with him this season. I didn't make that up.
No. I said I was disappointed.
Oh, you Max Aarons, was it?
Max Aarons on the opposite flank.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
The reason I gave you this question was actually because I feel as though I've answered this a few times this season. I've mentioned Jamal Lewis a few times, so I didn't want to repeat myself, so I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. Yeah,
of course. Look, if you look at his numbers in isolation, his defensive numbers aren't bad, but creative numbers aren't amazing. But you know, let's not forget he's playing for Norwich, who are maybe the second or worst side in the division. I think he's got an expected assists per 90 of about 0.04, which doesn't look great. He got 1 assist, but you know, Robertson in his last season, at Hull before he signed for Liverpool, had an expected assist per 90 of 0.06. So, you know, you've got to try take in all the elements, and I still think he could be a decent signing for Liverpool. You know, maybe as another name in there, I think Robert Scott for Hoffenheim, he could be an option. Signed from Copenhagen last season. He was originally a winger, but he's been getting used as like a left wing back for them. Defensive game looks good, certainly improved anyway, but really strong in attack. He has one of the highest expected assists per 90 in Europe. I think it average out around 0.25 per 90. We know what Hoffenheim are like. What? Sorry.
I was going to say I didn't know he was being used as a left wing back.
Yeah,
he scored a lot last season.
Yeah, he's come out and said obviously he kind of misses playing in a more offensive role previously in the season, but he's performing so well there that it could be a position that he kind of makes his own. And we know that wing back positions have become such, an attack focused role over the past few years that there's every chance he could stay there. And if he keeps performing at that level in that position, then he could be option for Liverpool.
Yeah, he's left footed as well. I've just checked that. It's an assistant one. I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah.
So my answer is not going to be anywhere near as long as that. Because my first question's, I think quite a generic one. So do you think Curtis Jones can replace Adam Lallana in the Liverpool squad next season? For me, comfortable yes on that. I think we've got a kid who's got that quality, and a kid who's potentially good enough to step up and save you a couple of million down the line. It's important when you're building a squad to basically keep a space for him, keep a slot open for him. We tried to do that with Brewster, did that specifically with Trent Alexander-Arnold, hence why we haven't signed a right back in. I can't even remember the last right back we actually moved to sign. So this is what you've got to do, and I think considering Lallana's leaving, that's about 100 grand a week off the wage bill. Bring Curtis Jones through, and I don't think he'd be a sensible player by any means. But just a player to get roughly the same amount of minutes that Lallana's got this season, in situations when it's maybe safe for him to perform, and it's not that big of a deal if he has an off day. Newcastle home and things like that, maybe featuring a little bit more in the league next season as opposed to just the League Cup. But I think he's still got quite a bit to learn. But he's got a lot of positives on his side. We've spoken about that on this podcast before. I think he needs to become a little bit, and I think he will become a little bit more disciplined in his decisions. I think he's naturally a little bit more attacking now. I think he's inclined to take risks, and traditionally over the past few years, central midfielders have been a little bit more reserved in doing that. And I think Jones will follow the route of a Wijnaldum, Henderson, Milner sort of vibe, where he's kind of a jack of all trades central midfield who largely leaves the attacking stuff to the players who have got world-class quality. So yeah, I wouldn't rule that out at all. I don't think we'll be surprised if he signs central midfielder in the summer. And as you say, that leaves a void for Jones to step up and play Lallana.
Yeah, I think Jones is going to be a good. I think he's one who in the academy could definitely make the step up, even in this Liverpool side. Someone's asked regarding XG, expected goals, obviously. Let's say Salah and Matip take a shot from the edge of the box. Will XG account for that shot to be any different depending on who takes the shot, or is it the same XG for whoever shoots? Obviously, they then make a point saying Salah will probably score more frequently in that position than Matip. Well, I'd hope so, yeah. But no, in short, no, it doesn't. It doesn't consider the player hitting the shot. I guess if we're trying to really simplify it, just view XG as what the output of an average player. So if a player is performing in line with their XG, then I'd probably see that as them performing at a decent but unremarkable level. And then that goes on to explain why elite players tend to overperform in terms of their XG on a consistent basis.
Yeah, it's very simple on that one. So this was quite a long-winded question. Well, I've made a long-winded question, sorry, because I think it involves about 3 questions. But they're all along the same lines. So if you sent in, I'm not going to read it out because it's a big long paragraph. It's 3 questions made into one. But if you've sent in any questions to do with Liverpool developing tactically next season, will teams begin to understand what we do, and will Liverpool have to adapt? A change in formation. That sort of stuff. That I've moulded that question into one, really. So one of the questions said, that Klopp's been developing a lot at Liverpool tactically. That's true. But I think that's been as a result of the players Klopp's had at his disposal. We haven't always had, elite offensive fullbacks. We haven't always had a front three like that. We haven't always had centre backs who can cope with such isolation. I think we've now reached a point whereby I would expect Klopp to want to almost keep the tactical makeup of what we've got at the minute, with a disciplined centre midfield, attacking fullbacks, and a front three that are very unpredictable and can do it without the ball and with the ball. So I think we want to keep that. But I think that development has coincided with the players Klopp's got. Obviously, Alexander-Arnold's rise, Robertson's rise, the fact that Henderson's a little bit disciplined, Fabinho's quite disciplined, and all that sort of stuff. So ultimately, your tactics are going to suit your players. So possibly there would be a change if Liverpool signed a player who was basically good enough to challenge that. Say, for example, Timo Werner. Initially, in the months after signing Werner, if we sign him, I'd expect, not much to change. But if Werner reaches a point whereby he's knocking on the door and he's simply too good enough to leave out, then I'd expect Klopp to almost be forced into a change, and I'd expect maybe, I don't know if this would be a permanent switch or a match-to-match switch, but I'd expect one midfielder to come out at the expense of Timo Werner coming in. So you'd compensate that. So say, for example, if you kept Fabinho and Henderson as a midfield pairing and brought in Werner for Wijnaldum maybe, and that would leave space to maybe go towards a 4-4-2 formation or a 4-2-3-1 formation. But ultimately, I think it's any signature like that and any development moving forward, it's just got to be with the players in mind that you've got, how their qualities and things like that, really.
Yeah. I'm just catching up to where I'm up to. Oh yeah, so we had a question on on Ben White, who's obviously been linked with Liverpool recently. He's currently, I mean, unless something's happened, but I don't think it has. He's currently on loan at Leeds.
This was a specific request for yourself, this one, wasn't
it? Yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't sure if you put the, I know Dave has watched them bit on this, but
no, that was past the question.
Yeah, so thanks for whoever actually reads me stuff. But yeah, White's a strange one because I looked at him in the summer. I've only really occasionally looked at him throughout the season, but just to give a bit of context, he's a versatile defender who can kind of play central defender as a wing back. He looks to have a really good football IQ. He's really good in duels on the floor. He's a good passer of the ball. Helps that he's playing for Leeds as well, who obviously like to get the ball down and play. One thing I would say is he seems a little bit average in the air. He's 6 foot, but he's only got an aerial duel success rate so far this season. I had a little look earlier of around 52-53%, which is fairly low. And if you think about it, Liverpool can often face high balls because of the way they play. So you kind of want aerial dominant defenders in there. You think of Van Dijk and you think of Gomez. That's something that he'll need to work on. But let's not forget, how old is he? He's 22. There's still plenty to learn. In terms of making the move now, I don't know. It's interesting because obviously I assume unless something's changed, he's going to be going back to Brighton in the summer. Whenever
I'd actually be quite surprised if Brighton just happily let him go, considering he's an English centre back, homegrown, and the impact of what Brexit may be and things.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I was about to touch on when he made that move to Leeds on loan. I'm pretty sure he signed a contract extension as well. So on the points you've just touched on there, Josh, taking them into consideration as well, you're going to have to pay a lot of money for them to get him. You know, with his age, what he's worth to Brighton, being English, etc. So that's something you got to consider. Me personally, I'd be inclined to let him have another year or two with Brighton. You know, people who listen to the show know that we spoke quite well about Brighton and how they're trying to do things and how they're playing their game. Okay, they've struggled a little bit this season for results, but the performances have been there. To the side that like to get the ball down and play. I think it would be good to see him almost develop in that environment before making a move to Liverpool. Yeah, I think so. If he did come as soon as this year, then it'd probably take a bedding period.
If you was to put a valuation on his head that you would maybe put you off, how high would you be willing to go with him?
I wouldn't right now as he is, and I understand the potentials there. And this is the sticking point actually, because I don't think Brighton would let him go for this. I wouldn't like to pay over 30 million.
Yeah, it's the figure I had in my head actually.
Yeah. Anything above that, I think, is just too high, and there's too many variables that could impact it. But and below that, then fair game. It could go on to be a good move.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if we could maybe somehow generate around 15 million, 10 million for Dejan Lovren, and then put a little bit more towards getting White in as his replacement, because I think Lovren's got 1 year left after the upcoming summer.
Yeah.
So remains to be seen. Next question. This was a good question. This is my kind of question. So what part of the Liverpool analytics team makes it so ahead of the curve? So I think for me, it's not so much what Liverpool are doing. It's more a case of how widely accepted data is inside Liverpool and how integrated data is into Liverpool's decision making. It seems valued throughout the club, which isn't always the case. John Henry's obviously got a background in baseball. Obviously, they're very analytics focused over in American sports and things like that. I think there's a famous thing where John Henry offered Billy Beane, the man behind Moneyball, I think he offered him something like it was either a £12 million contract or 12 million a year or something like that to make the move to his team, and I think Beane famously turned it down.
I'm sure he doesn't regret it.
I know. But I think he stayed as an advisor, I think, or something like that. I think he stayed in contact.
I'm sure that, he was with Oakland, wasn't he? I'm right in saying.
Yeah, the Oakland days.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry. Anyway, mate.
Yeah. So I just think Liverpool, they've got the whole data set up and things like that, but I think the crucial aspect is that everyone in the club listens to it. You've got a sporting director that widely appreciates it and listens to it, and he's got a background, and he was a data analyst at Portsmouth, I think, and Spurs as well, and I think I'm right in saying that. But that has allowed Liverpool to basically integrate data into all aspects of the club to an extent that I think it's now influencing how we perform on the actual pitch. You think of little things about Liverpool's game, like, say, for example, the way the fullbacks switch to play to one another, the way Liverpool constantly hit that ball over the top. Van Dijk usually hit it to Mane, for example. The simple things, but I think they will be products of how Liverpool interprets values on the pitch and things like that. I think Liverpool will incorporate that sort of thing into how we scout opponents, prepare for opposition matches and things like that. And I also think it obviously plays a massive part into Liverpool's scouting. I think rather than scouting for players solely using goals scored, assists, expected goals and things like that, I think Liverpool, in fact I know Liverpool go a little bit deeper than that. And Liverpool have come up with a framework that basically values every single touch of every single player in a given match in reference to how each action relates to the probability of a goal being scored. So it sounds complicated, but say, for example, Naby Keita, who was doing an awful lot with and without the ball, tackles, interceptions, through balls, all that sort of stuff. He obviously, to me, showed up as a very influential player in terms of just adding a threat to his team. Liverpool moved to sign him. So yeah, just think Liverpool obviously very, very ahead in terms of, research and development and stuff like that, and stats and data and things. But for example, so at Arsenal, I think when Arsene Wenger was in charge, I think he bought out his stats company, didn't he? Around 2012.
What are they called again? They call something basic like stats, something, aren't they?
Yeah, stats something. Yeah.
I get it.
But the crucial thing is, though, despite Arsenal having that knowledge, it's never really been integrated thoroughly. And the reason
stat DNA.
Stat DNA, yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
But the reason it hasn't really been integrated thoroughly is that from the top down, there isn't an aligned perspective on how useful this stuff is. They've now got a fella in charge called Raul Sanllehi, I think, is running the show now. And I think he's just basically more agent focused than he is, numbers and stuff like that. And you always have that conflict between different departments. So Liverpool have done really well is integrate data throughout everything. And I think that's something that a lot of clubs will have to catch up with, specifically Manchester United, who have only recently invested in the data team, by all accounts.
Yeah, I agree with all that. The thing is, I do still think Liverpool are ahead of the curve in some senses, but most sides in the Premier League and across Europe will have analytical teams. But I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. It's how Liverpool is so open to listening to them, and how we spoke before, haven't we, about how Klopp is willing to delegate where maybe others aren't, and he's willing to delegate this work to people who can obviously then turn it into positives for the team. So I can only really echo what you said. I totally agree.
I think I read or listened recently to a podcast, and it said something like if United had a data recruitment sort of department around the time Wan-Bissaka was signed, maybe he wouldn't have actually been signed. And I think that's where the analytics can help. If it's thoroughly integrated, you'll find that if you use it properly, at least you'll make fewer bad decisions basically in the transfer market. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, when was the last time Liverpool signed a flop? Maybe Karius, but that was for 6 million. So you tend to eradicate your errors and your mistakes if you integrate data thoroughly, because it provides insight at the end of the day.
Yeah. So we've got an XG question again. It's Liverpool are overperforming in terms of expected goals for and expected goals against. If you had to come up with if you had to come down on one side, is this a good sign on balance? Presumably, the extent to which it suggests the performances might not be sustainable, but there's also indicators such as world-class keepers and clinical finishers. So my view on XG fluctuates a little bit. I think it's a really good analytical tool, but I do definitely think it's flawed in parts, or not flawed. Sorry, it's got limitations. So I'll try and summarize where I'm at with it now. In terms of elite sides, overperformance tends to be down to their abilities. Obviously, we'll use Liverpool as the example. They've overperformed in both departments across last season and this season. Obviously, a big one this year has been their overperformance in terms of XGA, so expected goals against. Last I checked, I'm pretty sure they're overperforming by around 8 goals, roughly. But City, on the other hand, are underperforming by 3 goals. So Liverpool conceding a lot less than they should be. City conceding a little bit more than they should be. Now, previously, people kind of put that down to luck. But I tried to delve into that a little bit this week, and actually led to a piece that I did that was trying to illustrate things like defensive pressure, just because a lot of standard XG models don't really account for this. There's post-shot XG, which gives a better overview of chances, but we won't go into that now. But yeah, a lot of XG models kind of focus more on the assist type and locations of the shot, etc. So yeah, what I found was basically Liverpool are tending to, put a lot of pressure on attackers in and around the goal. So XG may have these locations as high scoring possibilities, but in reality, Liverpool are putting a lot of pressure on these players, which is forcing them into errors or mistakes. City aren't, and that's where maybe we're seeing the difference in terms of XG. So, in short, I think a lot of it is down to performance, but I would say that's more the case in the top teams than the teams lower down in the league. And the best example we've seen this year is Newcastle, who ironically, Joshua backers up, have been used as like a case study in the past for XG and kind of the positives of it. But, Newcastle, according to expected goals for and against, should be rock bottom of the table. The performances haven't been great this year, but they've just seemed to have a lot of luck. There's no other way to really sell it. They've kind of snuck 1-0s, or they've scored really late on, or they've been dominated and kind of just found a way to grind out results. I expect them to kind of level out more with their XG next season if they can continue to perform at these levels. So, in short, I think in the elite sides, overperformance tends to just be part and parcel, and it's not really anything to worry about. It's normally down to their own abilities, but maybe sides further down the table, if there's a big overperformance there, then I'd expect to see that level out again over a more prolonged period.
Yeah, totally agree with all that. Yeah, on Newcastle.
yeah, like Newcastle. Newcastle have been bad this year.
Honestly, according to the performance numbers, right, they look absolutely shocking.
Yeah,
they look terrible. I think they've benefited from scoring a fair few set pieces, which the numbers maybe wouldn't pick up on. Because if you're getting a header from a corner, maybe it's not getting that much of an XG value sort of thing. But
yeah,
if they're making use of it and they're winning the match 1-0 or something, fair play. But for me, there's only so long you can perform like that before I don't know.
I know in mid-February, Newcastle had scored only 12 and play goals all season. I think 50% of their goals had come from what you've just said there, set pieces. So, I said it's great if you can use set pieces to your advantage. We talk about Liverpool doing it all the time, but you've just touched on its sustainability. It's difficult to kind of guarantee that week in, week out.
Yeah. So, next question, mine was on Kai Havertz. So, thoughts on Kai Havertz, and do his numbers defy the talks of 100 million? Personally, I don't see it myself. So, on that point, I am inclined to agree. I think because his numbers don't really justify £100 million player. 100 million players. I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Like it's a player with absolute output. It's a player who's going to make a difference. I think Liverpool have used the phrase a transformational player who's going to basically, transform your fortunes completely, single-handedly. So he's not that, but he is quite unique. And I think with a player like this, you have to look a little bit beyond the numbers, because I think if Liverpool are truly interested in this player, I think he would be as a long-term heir to Firmino. Firmino's obviously a very odd type of player in terms of he's a centre forward, but he's a centre midfielder as well. He's got brilliant touch, first touch is superb. Firmino, complete 360 awareness of what's going on around him, and he's very unselfish, and he links to play very, very, very smoothly and stuff like that. Very aggressive. He's comfortable dropping back into midfield despite being a striker, versatile and stuff like that. And Kai Havertz ticks virtually all of those boxes, really. Kai Havertz's spatial awareness of what's going on around him, the swiveling of his head is very, very good. He's 6'2", Currently playing in central midfield, I think, or he's certainly played a lot of minutes in central midfield. I think Leverkusen are currently coached by Peter Bose, aren't they?
Yeah.
Very, very tactically fluid side, so he's probably played all over the place. He's 12th in the Bundesliga this season for shots assisted per 90. That's based on those with more than 1,500 minutes. It's not bad. But I think at this point it's worth noting that he's 20 years old. So by the time he's 23, Firmino will be, I think, 30. I think I'm right in saying 30. So I don't think he's the type of player that would absolutely go mad on in terms of spending loads and loads of money on him. But I do think we'd be interested in him as, if we want to keep this tactical dynamic, I suppose, as another Firmino type, because those types of unicorns really aren't they? I mean, you don't see many of those.
No, you're right. You're right. I've just realised that I'll have to just answer this question quickly because I initially missed it. But somebody's went up the way to say, "Hey fellas, love the podcast at the start," so I'm not gonna then skip this person. So I'll just answer it really quickly. But my question is, could you ever envisage a game in the future where Minamino and Firmino play together on the pitch? If so, who against and why? Completely understand that Klopp probably sees them as a similar type of player, but I personally, the person asking the question, would like to see them causing havoc, but also being included with Mane and Salah. How would that work formation wise and potential opposition? It's always difficult because I think Liverpool's 4-3-3 is so successful at the moment that many teams haven't really got an answer for it. So I'm always reluctant to kind of talk about veering away from it. But yeah, in short, it could potentially work. Say if you do go with a 4-2-3-1 formation, and you could put out to the current side, you put Mane on the left, maybe Firmino as number 10, Minamino on the right. Obviously, he's right-footed, Salah up top. But the beauty of that kind of that group of four is they're so interchangeable and they're so fluid that I think that would be really difficult for defenders to track. In terms of opposition, you're probably looking for characteristics of a side who'll maybe sit deep, not offer much in terms of counter-attacking. You think of your Villas, your Bournemouth, those type of players, those type of teams, maybe at home as well. Just games where you're probably going to, territorial dominance, ball dominance, and it might be about just trying to pull these teams out of shape a little bit with good movement, bit of skill on the ball. You probably want to avoid someone like a Wolves because even though they sit deep, they're fast on the counter, aren't they? But yeah, I'd say it could potentially work someday.
Yeah, I mean, I do personally see him very, very, very similar to Firmino, but I would agree in terms of maybe deploying them as number 10, 4-2-3-1, something like that.
Yeah, but if anyone's watching on YouTube, you're going to see me come off camera now, but my dog's eating the pen, so I could avoid not having to leave the apartment when we're meant to be self-isolating to take him to the air vet.
So I'll tackle my question while he's sorting out his dog.
Yeah, go ahead, mate.
So, what is your opinion on Matt Lowton of Burnley as a low-cost / wage backup to Trent? He's been showing up well on the data charts I've seen for this last season. Keep up the great work. So, thanks for the question, mate, and I would agree. I've produced a few of these data charts, I'm assuming that you're referring to, and Matt Lowton does seem to show up really, really well. Surprisingly, he seems to be Burnley's version of Trent to an extent. But the problem is, in terms of getting him in as a back or as a alternative option to Trent, he's 30 years old. So, although he shows up well, he's simply too old for me to be actually signed and chased in that regard. But just a little bit of an insight into his numbers. So I looked at fullbacks. I think it was minimum of 1,000 minutes played in the Premier League this season, and Trent Alexander-Arnold is top for 3 passes completed per 90. Lowton is second, then Jamal Lewis, and then Ender Stevens. And then if you go on long passes as well, he's 5th for fullbacks for long passes per 90. And if you go on shots assisted or expected assists, so he's a little bit further down for that. But I think it's interesting to see how he's using the ball. He's clearly an alternative fullback that maybe you wouldn't have picked up on if you didn't have the use of the numbers there. So it's an interesting one to keep an eye out on for, but the disappointing thing is he's 30 years old, so I think maybe you can look beyond him as a sign.
Yeah, do you think he benefits at all playing for that Burnley side?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose a lot of his long passes would stem from that. From Burnley basically hitting long, but he's hitting quite a few through balls as well, so I don't know.
I suppose they're quite direct in the play, aren't they?
Yeah, I suppose, but I think I'm right in saying that I don't think the opposite fullback on the opposite flank is doing it to that extent. I'm not sure.
No, you probably are right. Yeah, I didn't know. I agree. By the way, I think he is interesting. Definitely one that kind of drifted on the radar for most, as you said, unless you've got the numbers there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, with what's going on right now, can you see us selling a player, i.e., one of the front 3, to fund further signings? Reason the person asks is they can't see the Anfield Road expansion going ahead anytime soon, and revenues will take a big hit. I mean, that's difficult for me and probably the same for you to answer, because we're not obviously experts on the financial side of things. My knowledge is fairly limited, but look, an outsider looking in, Liverpool look like a really, really well-run club financially. That the owners have never really been the type to kind of come in and just inject large sums of money, meaning that the club will then be dependent on that owner. It seems like they've come in and wanted to make Liverpool a functioning business almost, where they're reliant on their own revenues. That looks to be happening. Have you remember there's actually a little bit of unrest starting to show maybe 18 months, 2 years ago with FSG about how they were doing things, because obviously there wasn't much success on the pitch at the time, but it just shows that in terms of a long-term plan, it's worked really well. In terms of potentially selling a player, yeah, I think there's a good chance that a player could go. I mean, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen with the summer now because of the coronavirus, but could a Salah or Mane be sold potentially? They're both 28 in their coming months. They haven't got much longevity left in terms of the careers, certainly at an elite level. They'd still attract huge sums now, but you'd imagine 12 months, 18 months down the line, they wouldn't. So, given that the points that we just touched on there about how Liverpool are run, would they potentially look to cash in the same way they cashed in on Coutinho? Yeah, I think that's a real possibility.
Yeah, hopefully not. I think maybe in the summer we've still got a little bit of deadwood that maybe we could cash in on, sort of thing. Like I'm thinking like an Origi and like players like that.
An accumulation of maybe squad players that bring in a little bit of a decent sum in itself. Yeah,
we've generally been quite good at doing that.
I hear what you're saying, but just say it in the summer. As I said, it's really hard to predict what's going to happen now because of the virus, and we don't know when the season will finish. But let's just imagine it's a traditional summer. If Real Madrid come in and offer 125 million for Mane, would you not want to sell?
125 million. It's a lot, that, like, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a lot.
You could get Sancho for that, and Sancho's 10 years younger.
Yeah, this is it. This is what I mean. So would they just consider maybe they are losing the player a year before they would have liked to, but in the grand scheme of things, it's probably smarter business. I don't know.
I don't know. I'd be surprised if people actually embraced such a big change in a summer when it's not overly necessary. I think I don't know, maybe one more year of sticking before we maybe go down the twist route. So my next question was, what was Alisson's XG against during his run of clean sheets, and what is the XG for a penalty? So Alisson, in 15 matches between Brighton in November and Norwich after the winter break, was expected to concede 9.86 goals, but he actually conceded 2. I'm not sure how many clean sheets he was in there, but he was in fact, obviously, there's 13 then. 13 clean sheets out of 15. That would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the XG for a penalty is, I mean, I'm assuming there'll be some mad models out there that just want to be a little bit alternative. The majority of
name and shame, mate.
But the majority of models out there would value a penalty as about 0.76 XG, which means that roughly 76% of penalties are scored, basically. Go ahead.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, I wasn't sure if there's anything else in there. I've got a question here, which is it actually starts with silly question, which normally means it is going to be a silly question, but I think this one is a little bit of fun. Silly question, but would love to hear your answers. If you were an elite footballer, what position would you want to play, and what would be your strongest attribute? Now, this is a question to both of us, Josh.
Yeah, these next few for both of us, aren't they?
Yeah. No, I have to be careful with mine because I know the people that I've played with in teams, so I need to give honest answers only here. But yeah, so the position I play now is centre mid. I've played in defence before, but that tended to be when I was quite unfit. But yeah, centre mid. I'm pretty robust, I'd say, in there. Decent passer, if I do say so myself. I guess if I was playing, I'd probably want to be maybe like a number 8, just because you're all action there, but you're still hopefully scoring and creating goals. So yeah, that's my position at Echo FC anyway.
So I think for me, I'll just go with my position for Echo FC, I suppose. So I would probably be an inside forward on the left. Basically Sadio Mane's position. I'm right-footed, so that allows me to cut inside. And strongest attribute I probably have to say would be probably me touch and me control, close control. I'm quite good at getting, keeping the ball within my vicinity, and when I watch players that are constantly chasing after the ball because it's never under control, it just does me head in. I think when I was a little kid, obviously constantly out in the street with the ball at my feet. So I'm quite good with the ball at my feet. A little bit tricky, and I'd like to throw in there that the first time I ever faced Dave with my first touch, I actually nutmegged him. So that one had to go in there. Like,
yeah, I was waiting to see if you dropped that one in there. I didn't sleep for the week, like, and I make a joke because I kind of done one of those. I was not those like kind of passes that goes through someone's legs, and I got one of them later, and I was desperately trying to ram home that it was a meg, but back on you, sorry, yeah. But I was like, I got home and I thought, I haven't fixed it at all. Like I'm still one down here, so yeah, we need to rectify that at some point. We haven't played together for a while, though, have we?
No, supposed to be playing on the sun, aren't we? But
yeah,
cancelled because of this outbreak.
Yeah.
Well, I assume it's been cancelled at least.
Then again, I'm not sure we'd be megging each other on the same team in that scenario, would we?
No, hopefully not. No.
Yeah, hopefully not. I don't know if you want to know, mate.
Yeah, go on. So,
yeah,
is it difficult to switch off and just enjoy watching a game of football when so much of your job involves analysis of the statistics and data? Good question. I would say no. It's not difficult. switch off. It's very easy to still enjoy a game and appreciate it for the same entertainment value. But what I will say is that since going down this route, I'd say I perceive the game differently to others, and there's certain things I value on the pitch differently to, say, for example, my dad. If I watch the match with my dad, I'll give you an example. Mo Salah is obviously a player that divides opinion, I'd say, a lot. I went to the match a few weeks ago. Can't remember what the game was. West Ham at home, I think, the 3-2. But it was the first time I actually went out before it for a few drinks, and a few drinks after it as well. And I really couldn't get my head around just how much the typical match-going fan doesn't really appreciate Salah that much. They seem to focus on his negatives rather than his positives. And my dad, for example, has a big focus on how frequently he loses the ball. Now that's obviously very understandable, but from my perspective, analysing the numbers and things like that, I appreciate what he's doing there and what he's bringing to the team, taking risks, because you need players ultimately to do that. And he might give the ball away 5 times, but the one time he doesn't give the ball away, he's managed to get one of his teammates inside the penalty box. Hence why at the end of the season, despite him being a frustrating player to watch, he's registered over 20 goals and probably over 10 assists. Such an output player in that regard. So still fairly easy to enjoy the game. Still very easy to be a fan. But the way I perceive certain actions on the pitch, I think maybe it's safe to say I'm a lot more forgiving in certain moments than a typical fan.
Annoyingly, it's a very similar answer for me. But we have spoken about this, haven't we? Yeah, it's look. The thing is, you still enjoy the game even with this side of it. You just maybe enjoy it a little bit more. There's another layer to your enjoyment in terms of watching out for different things, tactical changes and stuff. But ironically, I was going to say the exact same thing. I actually find conversations about the game in the pub, etc., much harder. And that isn't because, our knowledge surpasses everyone. We're great and others aren't. It's just, bear in mind, obviously, we work within football on a standard week, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. Then there's the games that you watch on the weekends. Then there's probably work that you're doing in the evenings as well. Like, football is just a 24-hour thing for us, whereas for others, it's a weekend interest. It's sometimes they're not even fans of football. Most wouldn't admit this, but you probably know a few people who are listening and watching now. A lot aren't even fans of football. They're just a fan of a specific team. So the chances are, beyond their team, they don't really know much of what's going on across the league or, any other sides across Europe or anything. So, yeah, I find it really difficult to have an average Joe conversation with someone about football now, because, yeah, their takes can often be formed on kind of split-second moments, or narratives can be formed on a pass being given away. But I agree, that they won't consider how a player is created room for himself and is trying to get on the ball, and they're trying a progressive ball into the box rather than going backwards or sideways. They'll just see a player receive a ball, try and pass it, intercepted, and they'll go, "Oh, he's terrible, he's this and that." And at times, I find myself just going along with what people are saying, just because I don't want to look like I'm trying to be a know-it-all or always got reason behind things. So I'd say definitely, if there's one downside, it's difficult to have conversations with people who maybe don't have the same passion.
Yeah, no, I'd go along with that. Another player I'd throw in there as well is probably Firmino. I think a lot of, and this is no dig or anything like that, but I think a lot of fans would make out that they know, they appreciate Firmino, and they know what he's in the team to do. But I think often, just from what I see about it doesn't take a lot for him to do wrong before people are saying we need to get in a proper striker and using traditional shouts like that. But I think you need to think about the game a little bit beyond that. That's my perspective, at least. But yeah, I think that's the difference in perception, I suppose, of how you perceive the game.
Yeah.
Hang on, this is your one, isn't
it? Is it?
Yeah.
I'll keep up. Yeah, another one starts with a nice comment. Thank you. I love the show, lads, but can you please explain some of the analytical terms you use, like XG? I understand it's expected goals, but how is the number related to the performance? I.e., Liverpool had an XG of 3 and United an XG of 1. The game could have finished 2-0. And then just use a few the clarification for a few other terms used. Yeah, well, XGs and metrics, that's basically trying to. I mean, we just strip it right down and try and put it really basic. Expected goals is there to try and give a better indication of the chances created. So, you know, if you look 10 years ago, where you'd kind of say dominant in a game, would you be looking, well, how many shots did they have? You know, we had the most possession, and XG is trying to give a better understanding of how that game actually panned out. You know, if a team's had 20 shots but the XG was only 0.5, then the chances are the locations and qualities of those shots weren't very good. Whereas if a side only had 4 shots but they had an XG of 1.5 or 2, then that tells us that they were really, really big chances, probably from really good locations, and had a good chance of leading to a goal. So it's all just about how we get to, you know, interpret the game and just get a better understanding of how the game actually played out. Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know if you want us to list terms, or maybe we can put them somewhere for you. Maybe we'll do a small piece and just kind of explain everything that we use. I don't know if there's anything you wanna add on that, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of XG, I've just wrote down that, like, you know, it's the general idea in football is to obviously score more than the opposing team. So to score more than the opposing team, you have to generate shots while ideally preventing them from taking shots. And from a coaching perspective, at least, you can't be in control of everything on the pitch. You can't be in control of refereeing decisions. You can't be in control of luck, the influence of the fans and things like that. What you can be responsible for is the performance of the team. And I think what XG does, it offers an insight into which team won the performance by valuing the shots that each team generates. So Liverpool post an XG of 3.1 compared to United, who post an XG of 1.1. Then according to the performance alone, if you remove every other influence from factor, Liverpool deserved a clear 3-1 win. Obviously, things aren't that simple, but that's the general idea behind XG. XG offers an insight into you know, the foundation, which is, in my opinion, the performance of a team. But then all the other influence from factors end up impacting the actual result, such as the referee, good fortune, the individual quality of your players, all things like that. In terms of other phrases that we use, I'd say when we say a team is underperforming, we mean according to their expected numbers, they are below where you'd expect them to be. That may stem from the quality of their players or something like that. Whereas if a team is overperforming, or if a player is overperforming, then they're doing beyond what the numbers expect. I'm not sure if you can think of any other phrases, Dave, or anything like that.
There's things that we talk about PPDA, and that's passes per defensive action. I mean, it's a little bit more detailed than this, but as an overview, we're using that. That's basically a measurement tool for pressing, really. So if a side has a low PPDA, the chances are they're quite aggressive in the press. So that's where you'll see teams like City, Liverpool traditionally and stuff. So that's a really good tool if you want to try and measure basically how aggressive a team presses the ball. Yeah, any other example? Obviously, expected assists work in the same way that expected goals work, but the key difference is, this is probably a good one to flag, actually. The key difference is expected assists aren't reliant on the person who ultimately takes the shot. So it'll assign the value irrespective of if that pass leads to a goal or not. So we'd probably recommend to anyone that if you have access to the data, maybe always try and look at a player's expected assists numbers as opposed to their actual assists, because a player may only have 2 or 3 assists for a campaign, but if they have a combined expected assists of around 10, that straight away says to us this player is very creative and he's probably been let down by forward players and their finishing abilities.
Yeah, and a little example on that. Say, for example, if you support Mesut Ozil in Crystal Palace's team and he was creating chances week after week for Christian Benteke, maybe by the end of the season you've got about -3 assists. No, by the end of the season maybe you'll have about 2 assists. Whereas if you were to put Mesut Ozil in City's team, maybe he'd have about 10 assists by roughly the same chances he's creating, just simply because of the finishing quality of Aguero compared to Benteke. So generally, expected assists will provide a better insight for you as opposed to looking at outcomes like assists. Do we have any more?
I'm trying to think of.
So I've got another question here. I forgot about this one. So, how can I develop my understanding of football analytics and tactics? Love the pod, struggling to find a course to learn more. So my advice on this would just I suppose be the advice that I gave myself a while back, and that's just basically read and listen to as much as you can. Basically, I just try to follow as many people as I possibly can that are already in the field, read all their stuff, and I found that before you know it, you know more than the man on the street, basically, to the extent that you may be able to filter your knowledge down and start educating them. But I think generally, official courses, football analytics still seems a little bit too niche for official courses to be about. I think we did attend one, didn't we? But I think that was more to gauge an understanding of where we are currently at with it. I felt personally that I could have taught the course, and that's without me ever taking a course myself. That's just through, I suppose I'm self-taught. I suppose you could say I'm self-taught, but I wouldn't really say the course. I'd say you can genuinely teach yourself this sort of thing, providing you're interested enough in it.
Yeah, I agree. There's very little in the way of courses. Actually, I thought you wouldn't find a course, but I forgot that we did go to that last year. But yeah, that was it was very basic. I can only really echo what you said, Josh. Read up on analytical content. There's tons out there. Read our stuff. That's pretty much all our work is that kind of work. There's other sites out there, and without me naming them, you can find them fairly easily. Get to grips with some of the free websites that kind of provide this data. So the things like Understat, FBref and stuff. Just all those sites where you can get hold of that data and just start playing with it, start getting accustomed to it. If you read things and you don't understand what something means, you've got the best search engine ever invented in Google. Just put it in there and have a read of what it means. Just develop your understanding. And as Josh said, very, very quickly you start grasping things. You'll learn things from us on Twitter. You'll see things, and as long as you're committed to actually, it is a genuine interest. And it's not just something that you've seen that seems a bit cool and you're interested for a week or two and then it drifts again. If you genuinely are interested, just read up as much as you can. You'll find within a few months you'd already have a really good understanding of things.
Yeah, spot on. And I just have to go back to the still questions because I forgot one of mine. So I got asked. My question would be: are we signing new players due to the fact the opposition are now working us out? I think for me it's important. It's a bit of an age-old cliche, I suppose, but it's important not to stand still in football. I think you have to keep evolving. And ultimately, the players that you've got give you solutions and new solutions and new tools to work with and things like that. Liverpool play the way they play right now because of the players Klopp has at his disposal. If he was to get Timo Werner, if he was to get Kai Havertz, Lionel Messi, these players would alter, probably. Not necessarily the principles of Liverpool's game. The pressing would always be there. The intensity would always be there. But in terms of the tactic formation, in terms of where Liverpool attack, stuff like that, where Liverpool defend and things, maybe those would adjust based on players. So I don't think we're signing players because we're getting figured out. But I think we're maybe being a bit proactive in that regard, so that Klopp is able to keep Liverpool unpredictable, basically. I think Liverpool under Klopp have smashed the whole concept of being hard to predict, being hard to analyse, because we throw so much at you with set pieces and throw-ins. You said a couple of weeks ago, didn't you, Dave, about the variation in Liverpool's corners?
Yeah.
That kind of thing is very, very hard to analyse. So the more solutions you have, basically, the harder you are to face. Hence why Liverpool may be looking in the summer for a few alternatives to what we've currently got. But yeah, those are the questions that we got in. So if we haven't answered yours, then either yours formed part of one of the others, or you maybe have submitted a bit too late. But thanks for sending them in. Some good ones in there, weren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I enjoyed that. They're good to do every so often, the Q&As.
Yeah. Questions are getting better with time, I find.
Yeah. I'm not sure we'll be able to do 6 weeks of them until the football starts again. So we will be a little bit more inventive in the coming weeks. But no, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, we're potentially looking at doing an Analysing Anfield whereby we analyse an older game. Not necessarily the 80s or anything like that, but maybe the 20th century, that sort of thing. So I don't know, if you've got any requests of certain matches, send them over. We'll see where we go with that, but we should be back next week. So thanks for joining us, Dave.
Cheers, mate.
Make sure you stay healthy.
Yeah, I will. I was just going to say, have you ever seen Castaway? I expect the pair of us to start each week just growing a really long beard and long hair and, just losing our mind a little bit, but we'll see how we get on.
Yeah, well, I went to shop before and it was like a scene out of I Am Legend. I had the gun in one hand, bob in the other hand. Yeah, thanks for tuning in anyway, and we will be back next week. Cheers.